Well, hello, my dear friends. Justyn Smith here, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we are looking at 1 Samuel 29 as we are nearing the end of 1 Samuel, soon to be in 2 Samuel, and we're excited to deliver these broadcasts to you. Today's message, as we're moving chapter by chapter through the Bible, is entitled, Just Walk Away. Just walk away. And this will make sense as we get a little bit further into the broadcast as we speak to the topic and title. Now, my name is Justyn Smith with the Heart for Revival Ministries, and we do have a website. Take some time to visit that as you're able to do so if you've never done so. Take some time to visit frequently. What we do have is something unique. We do have in the header of the website, right when you first access the website, we do have the most recent YouTube video that we've uploaded, and you'll be able to see it there. Click play. You can actually scroll through the other pages, click all the other pages, scroll through them, and that YouTube video will continue to play. It will not stop if you click on another page, which is really cool, and so we love the use of technology. Therefore, we also have these videos like this that we're spreading across the different platforms, hoping to challenge people with the Word of God, that God would change them for His glory. All right, today's message is just walk away. Just walk away. Sometimes there's things that you need to decide to just walk away from. We're going to look at some introductory verses that we need to recognize before we jump into the passage. Verse number 3 and 4, Then said the princes of the Philistines, What do these Hebrews here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Philistines, Is not this David, the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, which hath been with me these days or these years, and I have found no fault in him since he fell unto me this day? And the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him. And the princes of the Philistines said unto him, Make this fellow return, that he may go again to his place which thou hast appointed him, and let him not go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men? And then verse 5 as well. Is not this David, of whom they sang one to another in dances, saying, Saul slew his thousands, and David his 10,000s? We have it again, right? I mean, do you remember earlier when David made himself mad and spittles running down his beard, and he feigned himself or faked it, right? Because those in Gath understood the song. You know, Saul has slain his thousands, David his 10,000s. Must have been that top #1 song on the charts in Israel during those years. But now you fast forward to this time, and the others that were part of this alliance that are going to go to battle against Israel, they are recalling the song. Isn't that David? And you're going to trust him? He's obviously a deep undercover spy, okay? He's obviously going to take this situation to arise in the scenario and take you out. Don't let him. So that's the introductory part to this. Ultimately, we are getting to the point where David's just going to decide to walk away. Having an opportunity to choose against it, he's going to choose to be at peace with his enemies, which is number one, be at peace with the enemies. Let me mention a couple verses, one from the Proverbs and then two from Jesus' words in the book of Matthew. Proverbs 16:7 says, When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. And that was David with the Philistines, the Philistines specifically there in Gath that are being referred to here in this chapter. One of the kings is going to bat for David and saying, I find no fault in him. Jesus would say this in 43 and 44 of Matthew 5, Ye have heard it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. And that's what makes followers of Christ to be built just a little bit different. They seek peace within the ranks of their enemies. And that's where David's at, and he's trying to seek for that, and the king's going to bat for David as well of who is the enemies to the Israelites, right? I mean, David's joined himself up with them because he's fleeing Saul, and that's the only place that he can find a little bit of rest is when he is with the Philistines. Isn't it interesting, though, that he was able to find that type of camaraderie with them? Which leads me to point number 2. Live with integrity so the enemy can stand up with you. Now, I know that when it comes down to battle, understanding war and warfare. You need to understand who your enemy is. And really at this time in David's life, that's what he's doing. Okay, his enemy is not the Philistines. His enemy is Saul. Now, he understands enough in his own integrity that he's not going to hurt Saul, even though Saul's trying to hurt his life, David's life. And so now David's made peace with the enemies, which is amazing. And with the enemies to the people of God, he's living with such integrity that even this enemy, king to Israel, is standing up for David against those that he's in alliance with the Philistines. Notice letter A, David was faultless. David was faultless. In verse number 3, then said the princes of the Philistines, what do these Hebrews here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Philistines, is not this David, and the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, which hath been with me these days or these years? And I have found no fault in him since he fell unto me unto this day. Well, what a testimony. Achish is speaking on behalf of David. Wow, I found no fault in him, guys. We can trust him. Letter B, David was honest. As we read verse number 6, then Achish called David and said unto him, surely as the Lord liveth, thou hast been upright, and thy going out and thy coming in with me in the host is good in my sight. For I have not found evil in thee since the day of thy coming unto me unto this day. Nevertheless, the Lord's favor thee not. And what Achish is saying is these princes of the Philistines, they don't want you here. But David, I want you to know that I know your integrity. I know you're faultless. I know you're honest. Letter C, David was righteous. That's something else that's key to note about David as we read verse number 6, because this particular king is saying that I know that you've been upright. And that truth about David being righteous and David being honest and David being faultless, that's something that the king of the Philistines, Achish, knew about David. And then David was obedient. David was obedient. As you consider Achish speaking with David, David's really wanting to fight. Okay, David's wanting to go to battle. But the king is saying, no, you can't, because the princes, the lords of the Philistines, they're not in agreement with that. Notice verse 10 and 11. Wherefore now rise up early in the morning with thy master's servants that are come with thee, and as soon as ye be up early in the morning and have light, depart. So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning to return into the land of the Philistines, and the Philistines went up to Jezreel. So we see that David was obedient, and that's where really the title of our message comes in today with our third point. Sometimes you just need to walk away. Sometimes you just need to walk away. So again, we kind of recap real quick as to what built up to this. The Philistines are gathering together for this great battle. David's like, I'm going to go with you. But then when David appears, the princes of the Philistines are like, wait a second, who's that? King Achish is like, you know who it is. This guy's faultless. This guy's righteous. This guy's obedient. This guy's honest. This guy's full of integrity. There's no reason to doubt him. But the princes of the Philistines are like, no, it's obviously a trick, okay? And so all of a sudden, there's this conversation between King Achish and David, and Achish is like, David, I appreciate you. David, I don't know why they're not listening to my word. There might be a good reason. I don't know, but they're not, okay? And so David made a choice, okay? He could have got upset. Maybe God would have been behind him. He could have wiped them all out, but that's not what David chose to do. He chose to be obedient, and he just went back home. And honestly, as a leader, he's probably thinking, okay, there's no loss of life for us today. I guess we could look at that. But David made the choice to return while the Philistines went up. We don't know everything about what David was thinking, but we simply know that he made it a point to just walk away. Now, here's the thing. You and I need some wisdom in certain situations to know when to just walk away. When I was a pastor, there were opportunities that my assistant and I took to pray. And for instance, we would pray, Lord, give us the wisdom to know what to speak and what not to speak. Help us to say what we need to say and help us not to say what we shouldn't say on this particular Sunday. And so there are situations where, you have liberty to speak and liberty to walk away. and just not to say anything, to hold your tongue. Likewise, in situations of life, we pray for wisdom. And in those times, we need to understand, okay, this is a time to approach something, and this is the time to back off of something. Just walk away. There are situations in this life where you should walk away. There are situations in this life where you should never walk away. This one is dealing today with the situations of life where it's better off not to pursue what you desire, but just to walk away. It'll be okay. Thank you for joining us in 1 Samuel 29, and I pray that you'll join us in our next broadcast. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.